History is not shaped only by what happened. It is also shaped by what was destroyed and by the lives that never had the chance to exist. The 20th century was defined by two global catastrophes: World War I and World War II. Together, these wars killed more than 100 million people, destroyed centuries-old empires, reshaped global politics, and introduced weapons capable of ending human civilization itself. World War II did not emerge in isolation. Historians widely agree that it was a direct consequence of World War I. Political humiliation, economic collapse, and unresolved tensions created conditions in which extremism could thrive. This documentary does not attempt to rewrite history. Instead, it asks a serious and responsible question. What if the world wars had never happened? And if they had not happened, how different would our world be today? Europe before 1914. A continent on the brink, not on the edge of collapse. Before 1914, Europe was not peaceful, but it was stable enough to avoid total destruction. Germany was an industrial powerhouse with a rapidly growing middle class. Britain and France dominated global trade and colonial influence. Austria-Hungary struggled with internal ethnic tensions, but was actively considering political reforms. Russia remained authoritarian, yet social and economic change was already underway. Contrary to popular belief, most European leaders did not seek a continent-wide war. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was meant to trigger a regional response, not a global catastrophe. It was the failure of diplomacy, combined with rigid alliances and militarism, that transformed a political crisis into a world war. Had war been avoided in 1914, European empires would likely have changed gradually rather than collapsing violently. History shows that empires often decline slowly. World War I forced them to fall suddenly and destructively. A world without World War I. If World War I had not occurred, the global system would have evolved instead of exploding. Germany was already moving toward constitutional reform and could have transitioned into a fully parliamentary democracy. Austria-Hungary may have reorganized itself into a federal structure to manage ethnic diversity. Russia may still have experienced revolution, but without the pressures of total war, it would likely have been less radical and less violent. This distinction is crucial. Political extremism flourishes in chaos. Stability, even imperfect stability, limits the appeal of radical ideologies. The Middle East would also have followed a very different path. The sudden collapse of the Ottoman Empire after World War I allowed foreign powers to impose artificial borders across the region. Without war, political change would likely have been slower and more organic. Many modern conflicts may not have disappeared entirely, but they would likely have been less severe and less externally manipulated. Why Hitler and Nazism required World War I. Few cause and effect relationships in history are as clear as the rise of Adolf Hitler. Hitler was a product of defeat, humiliation, and economic collapse. Germany's loss in World War I led directly to the Treaty of Versailles. which imposed severe reparations and territorial losses. Hyperinflation, unemployment, and national resentment followed. Without World War I, there is no Treaty of Versailles. Without Versailles, there is no mass political desperation. And without that desperation, Nazism has no fertile ground. This is not speculation. It is historical causation. Most historians agree that Nazism could not have emerged without the conditions created by World War I. Without Hitler's rise, there is no Holocaust. The human cost of Hitler's crimes. Between 1939 and 1945, Nazi Germany was responsible for the deaths of millions of civilians. Approximately 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were systematically murdered in the Holocaust. Millions of others were also killed, including Roma communities, disabled individuals, political opponents, prisoners of war, and civilians across occupied Europe. These were not soldiers killed in battle. They were families erased from existence. The true loss of the Holocaust cannot be measured only in numbers. Every victim represented generations that were never born. Children who never existed. If World War II had never occurred, Europe's population today would likely be tens of millions higher. Imagine a single family destroyed in 1942. A mother, a father, and 2 children. That family never grows old. They never have grandchildren. Their family name disappears from history forever. Now multiply that loss by millions. World War II was not inevitable. Without it, Europe would not have been destroyed, economies collapsed, or refugee crises triggered. In Asia, Japan's militarism would have remained limited, Korea might not have been divided, and China's struggles would have stayed internal. Global total war would likely not have occurred. Hiroshima and Nagasaki would not have been bombed. Nuclear weapons, born from wartime urgency, might never have existed. Scientific progress would have focused on medicine, energy, and education rather than mass destruction. The Cold War and doctrines of mutually assured destruction would not have defined global politics. Without World War II, a multipolar world could have emerged, with lower military spending and greater investment in education, science, and infrastructure. Humanity might have cooperated in space exploration, addressed climate change earlier, and saved millions more lives. Less destruction would have allowed more creation. The world without war would not be perfect, but the world wars clearly magnified destruction, empowered extremism, and created lasting dangers. Humanity can learn from the past. If capable of creating world wars, it is also capable of preventing the next one. The outcome of tomorrow depends on the choices we make today.
Subscribe to my channel or I'll let the tank crush him.